Elite Facts presents
7 strangest things to wash up on beaches.
7.
Giant Lego Man. You know how people say the Lego phenomenon is everywhere? Well, this item on the list pretty much proves it. I mean, just imagine you're walking down the shore with your partner, all of a sudden you see a flock of seagulls gathered around a large body. Being shocked at the sight, you rush over to see for yourself. Instead of seeing a dead body, you instead see the most elaborate promotion for Lego ever. I mean, come on, when was the last time you saw an 8-foot-tall, 100-pound Lego man just laying on the beach? Where the hell did it come from? Nevertheless, versions of Ego Leonard, the Lego figure seen here, have apparently washed ashore on at least 4 beaches throughout the world. The first Ego Leonard sighting was in 2007, when the colorful sculpture was retrieved from a sea near the Netherlands. The following year, he was found on Brighton Beach, UK. In 2011, he showed up at Siesta Key Beach, Florida. And in 2012, he appeared on a beach in Los Angeles, California. Ego Leonard always has the message, "No real than you are," printed on his torso, adding a somewhat eerie and grammatically dubious element to an otherwise delightful fellow.
6.
Giant Eyeball. The ocean is quite a scary place. I mean, you've got sharks, killer whales, jellyfish, giant squids, and so on and so forth. Well, as it turns out, we now have yet another reason to get the heebie-jeebies when stepping into the ocean. Enormous floating eyeballs. Back in 2012, an eyeball around the size of a tennis ball floated onto the shores of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was discovered by a man who kicked it a few times before taking it home and putting it in his refrigerator. Yeah, not gonna lie, that is a bit strange. I know when I find an eyeball on the beach, I'll definitely put it next to the bag of French fries in my freezer. Luckily, he didn't intend on having the peeper for lunch and was simply trying to keep it fresh until someone from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, or FWC, could retrieve and identify it. As you'd probably expect, rumors of a colossal sea monster started spreading throughout the area. Wildlife authorities quickly spoiled the fun by identifying the oversized oculus as belonging to a large swordfish, a species that can reach 1,400 pounds. So the big question now is, how did the eye end up on the beach? The FWC said, although it was certainly rare to find a fully intact eyeball separate from any other body parts, this one had clear, straight line cuts around the tissue, which means that some creepy fisherman went out of his way to painstakingly cut out the baby blue before tossing it overboard.
5.
Doritos. Oh no, we forgot to bring food to the beach with us. Whatever will we do? Don't worry guys, Doritos has you covered. So we can pretty much guarantee you that any fisherman local to the Outer Banks of North Carolina would have caught the exact same catch on November 30th, 2006. Unfortunately for them, it wasn't trout, but instead a bag of Doritos. Due to an overturned cargo container, thousands of packages of corn chips littered more than a half mile of otherwise pristine beach. Talk about taking your advertising way too far. This resulted in a thing we'd like to call the War of the Chips, in which both humans and seagulls fought and scavenged for the goods just so they could get their fill of tangy, cheesy goodness. The birds gorged on the open bags while people scrambled to gather the intact packs, which, thanks to their airtight seal, were still fresh. As you'd expect though, some residents were a little bit annoyed that folks seemed more concerned with getting free junk food than with cleaning up the federally protected beach. But whether motivated by greed or public service, the chips were eventually cleared from the sand. Thanks to this, all I can imagine now is the opening to Boardwalk Empire, but instead of bottles of liquor in the ocean, it's bags of Doritos.
4.
Montauk Monster. Did you honestly think we weren't going to include the Montauk Monster on this list? This waterlogged beast made its debut to the public's eye way back in 2008 on a beach in Long Island, New York, and has remained the subject of controversy ever since. Authorities could only view the creature via photographs, yet the pictures alone were enough for the East Hampton Natural Resources Department and multiple zoologists to quickly declare the unknown creature as a deceased, overbloated, and decomposing raccoon, which is fair to assume due to its exposure to salt water and having a similar structure to that of a raccoon. Others, however, have claimed that the Montauk Monster's legs were too long to be those of a raccoon. Zoologists have debunked that notion by explaining that raccoons are surprisingly leggy and that their limb proportions actually match those of the monster. Also, what many have called a beak is actually a defleshed snout and exposed premaxillary bones. In addition to this, composite pictures of a raccoon body and the Montauk Monster show an almost identical match. Even with this proof showing how similar the Montauk Monster and raccoon are, there are two major facts which continue to fuel speculation. First of all, no one exactly knows what happened to the carcass after it washed up, and only a few people have actually seen it up close in person. Allegedly, someone carted it off to let it rot in their backyard, but no one's saying who or where. Secondly, the federal-owned Plum Island Animal Disease Center, which has its own fair share of conspiracy theories, is located in the vicinity of the beach where the strange animal was found. To be honest, all of this sounds like it would make a great fictional story of a bizarre animal hybrid escaping Plum Island, and the government whisking away the carcass before it could be studied, bringing their dubious experiments to light. Depending on the direction it's taken in, it could be a dark film. I'm thinking The Reanimator meets the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Crossover nobody has been asking for.
3,
One Harley Davidson motorbike. Bikes that wash up on shore aren't anything new. In the past, we've seen stories of regular bicycles and even a BMW motorcycle and a car. However, the most well-known story of a bike washing up on shore is the Harley Davidson motorcycle found on the shores of a Canadian beach. Now, what's the big deal about this? Well, as it turns out, this bike was from Japan and was washed away during the 2011 tsunami and earthquakes. Not only did the bike survive a Japanese tsunami, but it somehow managed to travel over 4,000 miles to Canada, arriving on a beach in its original container. In a surprising turn of events, the owner was contacted through the license plate.
2,
Two tombstones from the 1800s. Yes, we know this is pretty grim, however, it is in fact true. These wayward markers were included in a man-made seawall from the 1940s and managed to break loose. When breaking loose, these stones were swept away and were eventually found on the shores of San Francisco. Needless to say, beachgoers received a bit of a surprise when they showed up on the shore.
1,
Many dead birds. On the Pacific coast, thousands of birds have begun to mysteriously wash up on shore, and no one knows why. Normally, small numbers of birds wash ashore as they die in storms and harsh weather conditions, which is expected. However, deaths in this number is a very strange and unprecedented occurrence. It's been said that this group of birds had shown up all the way from Oregon to Southern California, prompting scientists to attempt to look into the situation and try to uncover what's causing it. Even more strange is the fact that the birds aren't always a part of the exact same species, as they are, in fact, 4 distinct species that have shown up en masse, washing ashore in flocks. One explanation is the lack of food for new flocks as they get older. Less food equals more death. Another suggestion is climate change, and this is by far the most evidenced theory so far.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.